Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Karena Osborne, the owner of the.witch.inn, an online place for you to find magic and liberation amongst this mundane world. Today, I am going to be sharing my 4-week one-on-one program with you, the Liberated Self, Know Thyself. A place for you to get intimate with those shadow aspects of yourself in order to find a path to liberation. Oftentimes, when I'm meeting with my tarot clients, what I'm hearing from them is I lack purpose. I feel like I am not in control of my life. And mostly, I don't feel like I can actually show up as my authentic self with the people that I really love and care about. As I've worked with these people, what I've realized is that oftentimes we mask our most intimate version of ourselves, not from other people, but from ourselves, based on the experiences that we have taken in over the years that tell us we're too much, we're not enough, we're out of control, we're too in control, we're too airy, we're too flighty. All the things, we take up too much space, we don't take up enough space. We're too aggressive, not assertive. All the things that socialized women are constantly meeting and combating in our capitalistic, patriarchal world. So what I do in this 4-step program is help women like yourself find inspiration to embrace that inner villain and come into an intimate knowing of who you are so that other people can't tell you who you are, what you're supposed to be doing. So over this time that we are together, what I am hoping is that you're going to be able to come into a place where you can drop the expectations of how you want other people to show up for other people, and instead be able to come into this place of showing up really intimately with yourself. Basically, what's going to happen is we're going to come into this place of, if it's a fuck yes, it's a fuck yes. If it's a no, it's a no. And if it's a, I'm going to need to think on that a little bit more, then you'll give yourself the time and patience in order to do that. All by coming into this place of compassion and intimacy with yourself. During our time together, I'm going to recommend that you have a glass of water, a little snacky snack, and a journal. Feel free to pause me so that you can take in the journal prompts that I'm going to be talking about here today. Really sit with what I'm asking you. Feel free to take a break if you need a break and come back later so that you can really be in this place of liberation for yourself. And because I like full transparency, at the end of this conversation, I am going to give you a one-time offer to work with me for 3 months in order to help you really activate that sensuality that you might be lacking in your life. So, witch, get comfortable, because we're about to go on this path of liberation and knowing thyself so intimately that other people aren't going to be able to tell you who you are, what you should be doing, and knowing that life purpose is what you make of it. All right. So hopefully now you've paused me, you've gotten yourself a drink, you've gotten yourself a snack, and you definitely have that journal ready. What I would like you to do is kind of get comfy wherever you are. And we're going to go into the body a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of a meditation. And when we come out, we're going to start exploring what has come up through that. So taking a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Get comfy. Sit back. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your bum in the chair or the couch. Feel your back against the backrest. Feel your shoulders dropping down from your ears into a place of alignment on your back. On your next inhale, what I would like you to do is tense all the muscles in your body up. And on your exhale, release all these muscles. Come into a place of relaxation. And again, on your next inhale, tense all those muscles up in your body. And on your exhale, release, letting it all go, coming into a place of relaxation. And let's do that one more time. On your next inhale, tense your body all up and release. Come into a place of deeper relaxation. And what we're going to do is we're just going to come into a place of a body scan. We're going to start at the top of your head, the crown chakra. Just noticing there, is there any tension? Is there any stories? We're going to let that go. We're going to allow relaxation to come into place here. Going down the front of your face now into your forehead. Release, let go if there's any tension. Into the back of your head. Release, let go. Coming into your cheeks. Notice if there's any tension. Release, let go. Down into your jaw, your mouth. Drop that tongue from the roof of your mouth. Maybe sit with your mouth a little bit open. Release, let go. Come into a place of relaxation. Coming into the base of the skull now. Noticing if there's any tension there, up around the ears. If there's any stories there, let's release that. Let's let it go. Continuing down into the neck. Breathing into that space. And on your next exhale, release that. Release your shoulders, again, dropping them if they are up around your ears. Coming into the chest, releasing any of that. Into the back, upper back, around your shoulders. Take a nice big inhale. See if you can breathe into the back, right? Breathe into the back of your lungs. And on your exhale, release that. Releasing any tension around your heart, around your rib cage, around your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, your hands, and your fingers. Release, release, release. Coming down into the diaphragm now. Just noticing. And if there is any tension there, breathe into it. And on your exhale, let it go. Just let it go. Now down into your belly, your stomach. A nice big breath in through your nose, filling your stomach up. And on your exhale, releasing. From there, breathing into your mid-back, filling up that space, noticing, is there any stories? Maybe there's some aches there, releasing that. Just letting it go. Coming into your lower back, around your root chakra, your sacral chakra. Breathing into your lower back, allowing that breath to fill your right hip and your left hip. Breathing and letting it go. And now coming down into that pelvic bowl. Breathing into that space. Breathing into the front of your right hip, the front of your left hip, and letting it go. Now coming into your groin, try and breathe down into your pelvis, into your groin, into your vaginal cavity. Really breathing there, seeing if there's any tension. Maybe doing a Kegel if you need to do that. Kegel through the buttocks as well. And on your exhale, letting that go. Sinking deeper into relaxation, sinking deeper into your body. Now going into your legs and your thighs, your inner thighs, breathing your breath into those areas. Filling them with just beautiful, beautiful air and allowing your exhale to release any tension. And into your external thighs, breathing and letting it go. Now coming into your knees. Breathe into those knees, those nice strong knees that carry you here, there, and everywhere. Breathing, breathing, breathing deep and letting it go. Now into your shins, your front of your shins, the back of your shins. Breathing deep and letting any tension, any stories go from there. Coming into your ankles now. Breathing in, and on your exhale, let it go. Coming into your cute little feet. Breathing into your feet, breathing into your toes, breathing into your heels, breathing into the soles of your feet. See if you can actually bring breath from the floor, from the ground where you're seated, up through your shins, through your knees, through your thighs, through your groin, through your sacral chakra, that pelvic area, through the stomach and the diaphragm, the lungs, the heart, the rib cage, up through the shoulders. And as you exhale, feel it exhaling through the crown of your chakra, your crown chakra. Do that a few times. Breathe in through the ground, up through your feet, up through your legs, up through that pelvic bowl, into your stomach, into the heart and the rib cage. And on your exhale, feel it releasing through that crown chakra. And one more time, breathing in through your feet, through the ground, up through your legs and your torso and your heart space. And your exhale goes up and out your crown chakra. We are creating a direct channel here into the body, allowing the stories to float away so that the body can begin to tell us what it needs to tell us. And just take notice now that you're in a place of relaxation. What still feels tense? Where can you maybe feel your shirt or your pants kind of brushing up against you? Your hair? Maybe you really need a glass of water after this. You're feeling parched. Just take notice. You are safe here. This is your body. And in this spot, I'm going to ask you your first journal prompt. Who are you? Who are all the pieces and the masks and the stories that make up you? Where does joy live in your body? Where does sorrow live in your body? Where does pleasure live in your body? Where does community live in your body? Within this space, perhaps you might have more tangible thoughts that come up. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a caregiver. Go deeper with that thought. What are those aspects that make you a mother, that make you a sister? What are the aspects that make up joy, pleasure, sorrow for you? Who are you? Who are all the pieces that, when put together, make up the beautiful being, the magical and inspirational you? Sit with this thought, and when it feels right, begin to journal some of these thoughts or all of these thoughts. This would be a good place to pause the recording and perhaps put on some nice music in order to help you stay in this grounded feeling, in order to bring up all of who you are. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do with that list of who you are, witch, I want you to begin looking at that list. Who is it that you actually feel you are? And who is it, which personas, which stories, which emotions are you holding on to that are actually versions of yourself that are the expectations of others? What narratives are you holding in your life that are a version of you based on someone else? So, for instance, when I did this for myself, I noticed that I wrote down caregiver. But when I really sat with that, I didn't like that. That's not something that I liked holding on to. However, I did know that I was caring and giving, but I wanted to be caring and giving on my terms. So that's something that I decided was actually an expectation and a narrative that other people held for me, that I assumed, that I took on, that I assimilated to. I allowed integration into my life. So what does society, what does your family tell you you are? Another one that kind of came up, a more shadowy aspect, something that we might deny, and maybe this resonates with you, is that I often heard when I was placing boundaries for people was that I was mean. You're mean. Maybe if you have kids, you might have heard this. Or maybe if you are in that caregiver, that highly sensitive person, that empath, that people pleaser, you might feel that about yourself. Maybe that's not something that someone has actually said to you, but setting a hard boundary. No, I can't help you move. No, I can't watch your kids. No, I can't actually drive you to the airport. And these are, small things, but maybe they make you feel mean. Maybe they bring up guilt and shame within your body. So just kind of take note. What are other things that people say to you? And maybe they might be good things. Maybe you hear from people all the time like, wow, you are so smart. Wow, you have a lot of wisdom. Wow, you really are an amazing cook. Your cooking feels like love. Your hugs feel like love. Really like add all this on. Nothing is too mundane. Nothing is too on the nose. Nothing is too abstract. If it comes to mind, wow, you have really beautiful eyes. You have a really beautiful smile. I love your laugh. I love the way you dress. I love the way you speak to other people. Allow all of this to start coming into your knowing, into your presence, into your being. This is a really important step in knowing yourself. Basically, it's taking a mirror and looking at those intimate stories, that intimate version of you that you might keep from yourself. How many times has someone complimented you and you were like, oh, thanks. Actually, a perfect example is like when you have a really nice shirt and someone's like, wow, I really love that shirt. And you're like, oh, I got it for like $5 at Old Navy or wherever, right? We immediately start to discount all these amazing things that we start to hear about ourselves. So knowing that, right? Like bring that into your awareness. Who am I? What are people saying about me? What do I believe about me? Within these statements, you're going to start to see how you value you, how you value your time, how you value your presence, and how you value the contribution that you give to the world. Are you spending more time contributing to other people's version of productivity when it comes to you? Or are you coming into a place of productivity for yourself? This is where you start to hear your fuck yes or no thank you. This is where you start to feel guilt, shame, joy, pleasure, lust, desire, laughter, grief, sorrow more tangibly in your experience. It's where we start to see our patterns of being, where we start to and can begin to pave the road to our liberation. So pause and really come in to all of that knowing. Okay. So in our next session and our next module, we're going to be taking all of that knowing and we're going to start applying our 5 senses to it. I want you to pull out one thing that you know about yourself, how you experience happiness, how you experience pleasure, sorrow, grief, anger, rage, how you experience confidence, how you experience being a mom. And I want you to apply the 5 senses to that. So for this work together, I'm going to use anger and rage. Oftentimes, when I am sitting with folks who have lost their way, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what my purpose is. I do know where I feel a lot of these things. Underlying is a lot of anger and rage. So if it feels good to you, let's do this together. What does rage or anger taste like to you? What does anger or rage smell like? If you were looking at anger, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And how would it feel? I also want you to apply a color to this. Going back into that body feeling. Where does anger and rage sit in your body? How does your body experience this? Is there stories that begin to come up and want to be told around anger, around rage? Write all this down. Who are the main characters around this story? Is it an old partner? Is it a friend? Is it a coworker? Is it a complete situation at work or school or an interaction you had driving home from work? What's happening in the story? What are secondary emotions that are coming up? Next, come back into observation around this. Working through this story, let's unravel its pieces. I want you to not think about the outcome of that story. I don't want you to think about maybe the reaction you had or how it maybe created a lot of anxiety or whatever. I want you to detach from that. Start to become an observer of this story. If you were someone on the outside looking in, if you were your best friend listening and hearing this story, what would you want the outcome to be? How would you begin to help navigate these emotions and stories for this person? What I would like you to do now is, as that third party, write down a new story, a different outcome. I'm going to use a past client's example. She was really struggling with how other people viewed her work ethic. And the story that came up when she sat with unproductivity was a lot of anger and rage. And when we tapped into that anger and rage, what came up was the story around when her mother passed away when she was a young girl. What happened was she was crying, and her older brother came to her and said, "What are you crying for? Mom's gone now. There's nothing to cry about. We need to get on with our life." And so as a young child, she didn't feel like she had a safe place in order to share her emotions because there were other people around that weren't experiencing those same strong emotions as her. So she stuffed it down. And that sorrow, that grief slowly turned into anger and rage and people pleasing. when she started to express her needs to others, regardless if it was like joy or anything, and someone said, no, that's not an okay expression, she would shut down and she would go back into that 8-year-old self. So if you could take that story and make it your own, what's the story that you are seeing? What would that younger version of you, and it might not be a young child version of you. This might actually be like yesterday version of you, last week version of you. What would you, knowing the information that you know now, how would you want that story to go? How would you want that outcome to be? Rewrite that story for yourself. I would recommend pausing. Like I said, I'm going to remind you and I'm going to give you permission, even though you don't need permission. Make sure that you're giving yourself time with this. Pause and come back to it when it feels good. Okay. Now we're going to take that story. I want you to start to see your boundaries coming into your sight. That's right. These are boundaries. So maybe I'm going to use the story of a past client, right? What she needed from her brother, who her brother wasn't able to give that to her, but what she's able to give herself now through this story is it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel that strong emotion. If you can't handle this version of me, younger brother, older brother, then that's okay. I'm going to go and I'm going to allow myself to self-soothe, or I'm going to find someone else who can. Notice how your boundaries are starting to come into your sight. We might hear there's like a really big buzzword lately around parenting yourself, right? Especially if you are someone who is stepping in, out, or out of people pleaser, this is going to be really helpful for you. This is where you can allow that guilt, shame, sorrow, anger, whatever around your no to be there, to be present, because boundaries are for you. They're not for other people. So maybe 8-year-old self wasn't able to say, I really need you to allow me to cry right now. You don't have to sit here with me. I'd like you to. You don't have to sit here with me, but I need to cry right now. That's a boundary. That's a compassionate boundary. Maybe you are dealing with someone who is always making you feel like the villain. If you continue to talk to me like that, I'm going to leave. That's a boundary. That's taking back control in your life. It's coming into that version of you, those emotions, those scents, right? Okay, so I know that I'm starting to feel pleasure because I'm feeling this way. I'm tasting this. I want more of that, please. Or I'm starting to feel anger because I'm feeling this. I'm feeling tightness in my chest. I'm tasting tomatoes and I am seeing red. And so I am going to offer a boundary to someone. I'm going to need to remove myself from this situation. This is where we take control back. I'm going to give another scenario around another client that I was working with work. She had big expectations here. So she had gotten 2 job offers within the same company. Now, one job offer was really fun to her. It was the same amount of hours that she was doing now with a little bit more pay, and it just sounded great. It sounded a lot of fun. There was another position that was more of a manager position. It was salary. The hours were very open-ended. But it came with a lot more prestige, right? It would have looked really good on a resume. Now, a lot of people within her company who were in this higher up position were really put themselves out there so that she would be offered this position. Ultimately, she decided to go with the latter, the one that felt more pleasurable and good for her, and that really just worked with her home life. The reason why she came to me was because she started feeling like she had to over explain and that she wasn't meeting the expectations of her superiors. She was having a lot of conversations around, wow, I really went to bat for you, and this is what you did for me. You didn't take this. You made my name less than because you didn't decide to do this, to take this other higher job. So the boundary that we worked on together was her saying to these other managers and to her other coworkers, I decided to take job position A. If you would like to talk about job position A, then we can continue to do so. If you would like to talk about job position B, I'm going to go back to my desk and work. Simple. I'm in control of what happens here. I didn't ask you to go for bat for me. I didn't even really know if I wanted that job, but I don't have to explain that to you. I don't have to be in this place of over explanation, wasting my energy, allowing guilt and shame to control me. And it's not even my guilt and shame. It's your guilt and shame that you want me to feel because you did something that wasn't a yes for you. This is where we start to notice maybe our own manipulative behavior, because we do it. We have our own learning experiences, and that's okay. We begin to become accountable to our own energy and as well as the energy that we want to show up. So if we were putting our positions in that manager's position, I went to bat for this coworker because I believe in this coworker. However, I know that that coworker has their own autonomy and they get to decide what they want. So whatever that outcome is, it actually doesn't affect me. That's a place of control. That's a place of autonomy. And that's a place where we are beginning to see people as sovereign and removing our own personal experience from others so that we can take accountability for self and our energy. It's where our boundaries begin to talk and we hear where things are a fuck yes or a no. That's not for me. Pause and allow that to come through for you. I want you to begin to think about maybe just different stories in your life where this feels relevant for you. Take the time to write them down and change the outcome. Maybe you are taking more accountability in yourself, or maybe you are removing your personal experience from someone else's personal experience. This is where if a spouse is not showing up in the way that you want them to, that's okay, because it actually doesn't say anything about you. It says a lot more about them. And so how am I going to begin to interact with this person, this place, this thing? Because I'm beginning to know myself. I know my stories. I know my triggers, and I can pull that energy back. All right. And finally, I want you to see no as a complete sentence. This is the strongest boundary you will have in knowing yourself. So to kind of bring it all in so that we can get to that no, what I would like you to do, right, is in session 1, we know who we are because we've defined who we are. In session 2, we've come up with and discovered all these emotions and stories that are kind of playing on us, right? We've defined those as well. So we've come into a deeper sense of self. In session 3, we see the stories that keep us in the cycle of these masked emotions, this people pleaser. And we've come into accountability for self. And so session 4, working within that boundary. So what we're going to do is we're going to observe, okay, what's going on here? Who am I in this scenario? Number 2, what emotions are starting to come up in my body? What patterns are starting to come up in my body? Number 3, have I lived this story before? What do I want the outcome to be here? And number 4, really allowing that boundary to come into self so that you know who you are, you know where you're going, and you feel and know you are in control of the steps you're taking. Here's what this doesn't do. This doesn't not create chaos in our lives. What this does do is allow us to see the chaos and decide if we are going to buy into it or not. So we're going to observe. We're going to come into our senses to ground. We're going to see how we would like the story to come out, best possible outcome with the knowledge that I have at this time. And 4, we're going to place our boundaries. Boundaries aren't always bad. Sometimes they're good. A boundary can be, yes, I want to do that. That is where I want to go. I'm going to leave you with a piece of homework. Come into some non-negotiables around your life. And I want you to do this from a place of pleasure. So go back to the beginning of this recording, come into your body, source pleasure, and come up with some non-negotiables for yourself. So a non-negotiable might be, okay, when I feel a no, that shows up in my chest. And a non-negotiable for me is that when I feel that no, it's a no. And I'm going to tell someone, no, sorry, I can't do that. Or even drop that, sorry. No, I can't do that. I hope you have a great time though. I hope things go well for you. Come up with 1 to 10 non-negotiables for yourself, knowing that this comes from your body. If you would like to work with me, I am doing an offer for the Liberated Self, Sacred Sensuality, where we really come into that inner knowing. We take it step by step. We work together for 3 months in order to work through these 4 modules over and over and over again, so that you are getting real life practice, so that when at the end of it, you can really come into this place of like, oh, that's who I am. So tonight, as you leave as well, or today, wherever you're viewing this, go back to that first question. Who are you? Has that definition changed? And are you ready to experience a greater sense of sensuality and intimacy with yourself, knowing that you are your greatest partner and that you are your key to your intuition and your liberation in order to find meaning on that path forward? If you would like to work with me in that 3-month module, you can use code EMBRACE, all capital letters, EMBRACE, to get 25% off the ticket price, which is $1,300. I want to thank each and every one of you for sitting with me here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you would like to work with me in different capacities, please reach out. You can reach me at the.witch, WITCH, _INN at gmail.com. It was such a pleasure. And remember, witch, you are valuable. Slay.